Welcome to day 35 of our Proven Cancer Strategies Revealed 90 Days to Cancer Resilience. And this week we've been talking about sugar. And I want to be in the kitchen with you today to show you some treats that you can make that are not using processed sugar but taste good. And they are super easy to make. You can spend 10 minutes in the kitchen and you're done. So how does that sound?
That
Great.
sounds really good.
But before we start, I want to close the loop on a question that we had yesterday about stevia. There are two questions. And if you want the full description, it's in yesterday's video for day 34. I put it as a comment. But here's the deal with stevia. When it's in processed foods, it's not the same as the natural stevia that we would grow in your garden. So Kathy has a stevia plant in her garden. It does have potentially other sweeteners, additives, and fillers. So you really need to be very careful about what you're buying. And just because it says stevia doesn't mean that it's the natural pure stevia that you're looking for. So if you are looking for the purest form of stevia, you want to get the stevia leaf extract or whole stevia leaf. There's so many products that are more refined, and they contain other compounds that are extracted from the stevia plant. And they basically what they're trying to do is remove bitterness from the stevia plant. So be careful about what you're buying. And just because it says stevia doesn't mean it's good for you or it's the good stevia. So thanks, Kathy, for that question. And then if you have a stevia plant like Kathy has, then you actually can preserve it, pick the leaves, and harvest the leaves before the first frost. What I researched said that the time to pick them is actually before they are the sweetest is before they flower. And you can do two things. You can dry the leaves by putting them on a towel and letting them dry for about 2 to 3 days. Or if you have a dehydrator, you could use your dehydrator. And then once they are 100% dry, they're completely dry, you can crumble them and store them in an airtight container. Or you can make a stevia extract or tincture by taking the fresh stevia leaves that you've harvested and putting the leaves in a glass jar and cover them with some high-proof alcohol, like a high-proof vodka, and let them steep for 24 to 48 hours. And then the longer you let them steep, the sweeter and more intense the flavor will be. But beware, you also are going to extract more bitterness if you leave them in longer. And then you can strain the liquid and store it in a dark glass bottle. You can do a further concentrate by heating it to remove some of the alcohol. So those were amazing questions yesterday from Kathy, and I'm glad that I could give you some more updates on it because I think that was really good. So what are we doing today? We are going to make 3 treats. The first one is a chocolate energy bite. Then we are going to make some banana and strawberry bites. And then we're going to finish it off with a chia pudding. All right. So we have lots to do. It's not going to take too long, I promise you, because these are very simple treats. We're going to start with our food processor for the energy bites. And there are so many combinations that you can make with the energy bites. And they're great treats to have. You can store them in the fridge and take a bite when you're just feeling like you want something sweet, and away you go. So for this one, I have a mixture of cashews and almonds, and I'm going to do my normal. If you are using the cashews and almonds or any nuts and seeds, you should sprout them first, which means you soak them to remove the enzyme inhibitors, and then you dry them either in a dehydrator or on a cloth, on a cookie sheet or some kind of a baking tray until they're dry. If you're drying them naturally, it does take depending about 4 to 5 days. So just be patient till they get back to their crunchy consistency. And I dry mine when I buy them. The first thing I do is I soak them and dry them with my dehydrator, and then I store them in the freezer. And so these are my nuts, and I'm just going to pulverize them to start with so that we get a head start, because that's the biggest part is the nuts here. So give us a few seconds on this. And you can leave them. They don't have to be a fine texture because you can have a little crunch to them. Mine, there's some really fine ones and some not so fine ones, which is perfectly okay. I am going to add in some medjool dates here. I did not soak them. The dates that I have that I bought are very fresh, so they're not like the hard pellet. Sometimes I find that they can be already hard, and these ones are all really beautifully soft. I'm going to add in a couple of teaspoons of cocoa powder. So we're going to make these chocolatey. And then we're going to add in some flaxseed, and flaxseed is going to give us some more fiber as well as omega-3 fatty acids. So I just put a couple of teaspoons of that. I'm going to add in some vanilla extract, and somebody told me whatever your recipe calls for, you might want to double it. And I dropped my teaspoon on the floor, so I'm improvising here. All right, so I'm going to add in, I'm telling you 1 teaspoon, but you can add a little bit more if you like the vanilla. I love vanilla, so I'm going to put 2 in. And then you can put a pinch of salt, but I am being diligent about being salt-free, so I'm going to leave it. And all we're going to do is we're now going to process this up. So let's go. See if these are great. Now you can add more dates too. And what happens when you get they're fine, then they are going to be it's going to stick together. The dates are going to make them stick together. I'm just going to crunch it a little bit more. It should help to get it to ball together. And so what's happening, it's starting to actually ball together on its own a little bit. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some out in my hand and mold it into a ball. So I can make them as big or small as I want at this point. Try and make it a ball instead of like a oval here. So I'm going to do little small ones. You can do bigger ones if you'd like. I'm just going to put them on a little sheet here. And I'm not going to do them all. I don't think you want to wait for me to do them all. But these are little tiny ones. I think if you buy energy bites in the store, you can buy them in some places like specialty places. I think they're like you'll pay a couple bucks for one or two. And just think how easy it is to make your own. What a great snack it is. And if you have allergies to nuts, you can always use some seeds like sunflower seeds is good. And then I can finish this off by sprinkling on. I could sprinkle roll it in some chocolate, like I can use a chocolate dip. We're going to use a chocolate dip for something else. I could add something. What did I want to add? Oh, I have coconut. So I can just roll this in coconut. Now I'm going to take my little thing here. Got a little bit of coconut, shredded coconut, and I can just roll it around in the shredded coconut. Yay. And I don't know if you can see that little ball.
Yes, it looks good.
Now, what you can do now that you have your little is put them in the fridge. Let them set for about half an hour to an hour, and then they'll be ready to eat. I mean, you could obviously eat them now too, but they'll firm up if you let them sit for about an hour in the fridge, and then you can store them in the fridge. Here's my energy bites, and I've got more that I can make. And that's a quick, easy treat. They'll last up to a week. I dare you to keep them there for a week. Great little hand snacks that you can store in the fridge for yourself. All right. So I'm just going to clean up a little bit here, and we will start on our little banana and strawberry bites. And this one is super, super easy. Well, I think that was pretty easy too. But we're going to be pretty super easy here. I have basically what I've done is I've taken some strawberries and cut them into like little quarters here. So I've got some strawberries, and I did the same with some banana. So I just cut like little quarter size banana, so about 1/4 of an inch or so, these little bites. And then I was at the end of the banana, so the last one I did sideways so that I get the little. We're going to make little sandwiches out of them. And of course, we're going to add a little chocolate glaze or chocolate to it. So let's start by making our chocolate. I'm just going to want to make sure I don't forget anything because I don't want to do that. So this is really easy. This chocolate is, I think we've made something like this before. What we're going to do is I've soaked some dates. Now you can use maple syrup, but in the spirit of trying to be the sugar-free as we're going to use the dates. And the reason the dates are low on the glycemic index, and the reason why is because they're high in fiber. Now, maple syrup does have some nutrients in it, but there's a lot more fiber and nutrients in our dates. And so it takes longer for our body to digest, and the sugar, that glucose, is going into our system at a slower rate. And that's what it makes it so great. I'm going to add in some oil. So I have some coconut oil that I have, melted. And I melted it last night, and it was just starting to turn solid again today. So I melted it again, but it almost lasted all night. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of water. So this is the warm soaking water. So I'm going to add a little bit in. I don't want to add too much. I want to wait. And this is my little hand blender here. And then, of course, I need some cocoa powder. So this is cacao or cocoa powder. And when you're buying your cocoa or cacao powder, always look for sourcing a powder that is ethical, because the cocoa trade, similar to the coffee trade, has a lot of corruption in it. So you want to make sure that you are getting fair trade cocoa. And so we're going to just blend this up. All right, and we're going to check it out. We want it to be runny, but we don't want it too runny. And just going to put a little bit more of the date water in here. All right, that should be good. Going to add it to a little bowl so we can dip our sandwiches in the chocolate dip. Look at that. Does that not look good?
It really does.
And so easy to make. I could take my little balls and dip them in there too. All right. And so all we're going to do is we're going to take some nut butter and add it to make the little sandwiches. And here is, I'm going to show you, I have some almond butter, and I have these, I was looking at different butters. I actually have a sunflower butter, so you could use whatever you want. The only thing is be careful, like, because if somebody has a nut allergy, you could use sunflower butter. But I noticed this one has a warning that it may contain peanuts. So this one is not peanut free. It probably was made in a place where they have peanuts. This one is interesting. It's got Brazil nuts, cashews, and coconut in it. And actually, this one tastes really good. I'm using that. And then I've got almond butter, and I also have a cashew butter. So there's so many different butters nut butters that you can buy, or seed butters. And there are ones that are nut free if you have allergies. And literally all we're going to do is I'm going to take a little knife. I've got some of my nut butter. And we're just going to take and make little sandwiches with our nut butter. And I'm going to use the two different ones and watch, see if I can get it together. I'm just going to do that. Make a little nut butter. And I'm going to make it really sloppy, but that's okay. Got my, oops. So I'm going to use the, I've got the almond, this is the, that cashew with Brazil nut and coconut. And Brazil nuts have a ton of selenium in them, which we need to have selenium every day. And one Brazil nut a day will give you more than enough selenium. So if you're buying multivitamins to get your selenium, stop and buy a Brazil nut. So for my strawberries, I'm going to use the almond butter, which is a little thicker. And it's going to slide off. This almond butter also is stickier. So it sticks more. My strawberries stick together. Hopefully you're neater than I am when you're making these, but that's part of the fun. All right. So I have my little sandwiches, and I can dip them in. I'm going to do I could do a partial dip, or I could do a full dip. You could put it on. I'm going to do a partial dip. And all I'm going to do is put these in the freezer. They take an hour or so to freeze, and then you've got like this amazing little bites that you can have. Now you could do it. You don't have to wait for it to freeze. You can always just eat it. And the interesting thing is I am not a fan of bananas, and it's because of the texture. But if I don't mind, these bites are pretty good because you get a different texture. You're getting a frozen banana instead of like a soft banana. And it's like almost like a little ice cream sandwich for you. All right. So we can put these in the freezer, and in an hour they're going to be ready. I have a couple that I did, but I'm gonna add some of my sauce to them. And you want to eat the bananas frozen for sure. Otherwise, they're going to get mushy once they start thawing. And you could just put a bite in your mouth, let it melt a little bit, and then eat it. And that's it. That's how easy is that for a really nice treat. Right. Now we're going to make a chia pudding. We're making a tropical chia pudding. And I'm going to do this one. I've got all of my different blenders and stuff today. And you can use a blender for this, or you can use a food processor. And let's get going with it. So for the chia pudding itself, literally, I have coconut milk here in I've got about a coconut milk here. And my coconut milk, where I come from, comes in a can. And when you open the can, it may be solid. If it's like the one that I had, I shake it up first to make sure that I get all the solids integrated into the milk, because sometimes it will separate. And sometimes it's not separating. If that happens to you, you probably want to put it in your little blender. Like I could use this little blender to get it all integrated into each other, because otherwise you're going to have chunks of coconut, kind of the more coconut milk, the fat versus the liquid. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the coconut milk, add in some chia seeds, stir it around. It won't take long for these chia seeds to start expanding. I'm going to add in a little bit of cinnamon here. Got some cinnamon for it. And a little bit of vanilla. And stir it up, and that's going to make a chia pudding. How easy is that? Now, this is a great breakfast. This is great for breakfast. I'm going to be generous with my vanilla because I like it. And then I'm going to add this little tropical compote to it. I'm going to stir this up and put it to the side. Let it just meld a little bit. And after a couple hours in the fridge, you're going to have a really beautiful chia pudding. All right. And then I'm going to make a little compote here. What I'm going to do, this one I have a little tiny food processor, but you can use your blender as well. This one is really loud. My kids did not like this one. So loud. All right. But this is a little mini prep, and I've got some pineapple and mango, so it's tropical. And this is it's kind of half frozen, but I used frozen chunks, and I'm just going to add a little bit of lime juice to it, and then I'm just going to use my food processor to make my little compote. And be careful, this one's loud. And you can keep it crunchy or you could make it so it's really fine. Looks good. And these are partially frozen. I did let them thaw out for about half an hour. But it's still very thick. And literally, if you like sorbet, here is your sorbet. And you could just, like, literally, you could take this, put it in little cups or little containers in the freezer, bring them out, let them thaw a little bit, and you have a beautiful sorbet. So there's another little dessert for you. And I'm going to take my handy dandy mason or canning jars. I have these are the 250 ml or 1 cup. And I'm going to take my chia pudding, which is thickening up. Going to add some to the bottom. I can add a little layer of this compote. Hopefully it'll just stay on top. You can wait for this chia pudding to settle a little bit more. This one is pretty runny still, but that's okay. We're on a time crunch here. And then you can add a little bit more of your chia pudding. I'm going to add it carefully. Woo, my layers disappeared. All right. And then add a little bit more of the compote. This is your tropical. You could even keep going another layer. And you end up with this. You can see. And these chia seeds are going to continue to swell. I would wait a little, let it sit for about 15 minutes before. I probably should have done the chia pudding at the beginning and then done this one last. So that would have been a better demo, but that's okay. And then this can be a breakfast or it can be a snack. And that is some really quick, easy recipes that you can make that are sweet treats that don't have any refined sugar in them, and they're healthy and good for you. Any questions on that?
I have a question about the vanilla.
Yes.
You were saying that whatever the recipe says, double it?
If you like vanilla, you can add a little bit more to it. Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if there was something going on there. And then my other one was so when you did the strawberries and the bananas.
Yep.
My first thought was, oh, I wonder if you could do this with apples.
Yes, absolutely. You could do this with a ton of fruits. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can you could do it with apples, you could do it with pears or peaches, kiwi. Like there's so many fruits that you could do this with. Absolutely. It's very versatile, and make little bite-sized sandwiches for it. For sure.
They look so good.
Yeah. I'll let you know in a minute. But what I do want to say that on Wednesday, August the 21st at 1 p.m., we are doing our Sweet Escape, your Sugar Detox Journey. We are going to do a webinar on sugar, and we're going to talk a little bit in that about our 21-day sugar detox, which is how I got off of sugar. And I have been sugar-free. I do not eat these kind of things. Definitely, I do not eat like refined sugar. I've been almost 11 years since I did my own detox. And, you know, all these sweet treats are nice if you really would like them, because they're so easy and they are made from healthy ingredients. So there's no problem. But I also encourage you to do a sugar detox if you are eating refined sugar, and really kind of cut the cord from the sugar once and for all. And so let me just see. What do I want to start with? Ooh, maybe I'll end with the energy bite. Now I could put these in the freezer, but I can eat them without putting them in the freezer. This one's a little soggy. Still tastes good. Mm-mm-mm. It already melted. They're always frozen. Oh, I want to do the strawberry. I love strawberries, but I'm going to leave that. And I have my chia pudding compote here. So now my chia pudding, it's like totally firm. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, so good. And you, it's kind of a little bit, I don't know how to use the word gelatinous because that sounds awful, but it's a lot smoother. And it's got a little crunch from the chia seeds, but it's really smooth. Oh, and we'll end with an energy bite. Now I'm all sugared out. Thanks for joining us today, and we will be back with more on our Proven Cancer Strategies Revealed 90 Days to Cancer Resilience. For that, now, stay resilient and enjoy some sweet treats. Bye for now.